In my previous video, I actually expressed why the design tools are different from development tools when the end objective is to create that application at the end of the day. There's a lot of loss in translation when going from design to development, and this can be avoided if the tooling was all integrated. To my surprise, Paul Graham of Y Combinator expressed exactly the same idea on Twitter, and in fact mentioned that one of the companies that he's invested in went completely away from using Figma and went straight to using Replit. So theoretically, designers within that company actually use Replit directly to create the applications. So this video is my diving into Replit and trying to figure out if it was all hype or is there any truth behind it. All right, let's get on with it. Firstly, I've got to say that this video is by no means sponsored by Replit, and if you watch further, you'll see why. I bought the $25 plan myself, and I dove in, and this is my experience with that particular plan. I tried using the free plan, and I quickly ran out of credits, so this is something I had to do. On a side note, all these AI-based companies are putting up these annual plans, and I can't understand who in their right mind would actually make a commitment to use an annual plan when the landscape is changing so fast. Anyway, that aside, I'll dive in. I'll actually build the application right in front of you, and we'll go through the entire experience. And then I'll give you my thoughts on what I think is missing in Replit. Cool? Let's go. I'll share my screen just here. So if you were to begin, you'll actually be faced with this box. What do you want to build today? So theoretically, I can actually put in anything I want. I have the prompt really created already, and I'm just going to finish that off. There you go. So to help us with creating the right functionality, there is this improve prompt button, and I've seen this kind of a button available on other platforms as well, and it really does improve the prompt. So I'm going to just click on it, and it'll actually go in and add any of the details that it feels was necessary. So let's see, a web-based voice notes application for recording, transcriptions, a toggle button, automatic upload, typed interface, audio playback functionality, transcription, blah, 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 and the UI style. In my previous attempts at creating this application, this UI style section was often added. So it's done that again. Okay, so let's just go ahead and click start building. So this bit is pretty nice. It's going to go back and it's going to understand what was the request. And I've been interacting with this agent just now. So you can see that whatever response will come back, it'll be from the agent. So it says, absolutely, let me propose what we'll build. Okay, let's go ahead. So this is where I think there's a bit of an issue. So it says it'll build the initial prototype, but it's also recommending other features. I don't want to add on a lot of complexities because I've seen a lot of these AI assisted development systems fail when we make the request very complicated. So I'm just going to hit approve the basic plan, and I'm just going to ask it to start, right? So all this fun stuff is going to scroll on the left. It's going to review my message even though it had just seen it. Now this is the part that bugs the hell out of me. It's going through and writing all this code for all these various files. I can't understand why. It's not like I can review this code right now. It's made a choice of the platform also, and this is using TypeScript, I believe, which I don't have any idea about. So I don't see the purpose of even putting this in front of the user. It's such a waste of time. What it's stating on the left is completely sufficient. It can say all these files are just being created and this database is being created, and that would be completely sufficient. This stuff on the right is just for, I don't know, for fun, I suppose. I'm just going to wait for it to finish. It shouldn't take too long. All right, so it's got a Postgres database. I shouldn't know. As a designer, I really shouldn't know what kind of a database or anything of the sort, but it's done it, so well and good. This bit where it's doing all this npm run and things like that, it's handling a lot of packages and installing those packages in this virtual server. And this stuff is really helpful because, create something like this for yourself or locally on your system is quite a bit of a pain, and is usually a huge hurdle when it comes to creating these applications. All right, so where did we come? Add a basic project structure. That bit is done. Can you access the voice notes application, see if the recording interface is working? All right, where do I do that? So I said, I guess I'm gonna hit run project. It's gonna, the agent needs your feedback. Let's see what's happening. No web server is currently running with the ports available to view. Try running your app and check the networking tool to ensure ports are being Why the hell do I even need to do all this stuff? I thought the whole point was to avoid this. Okay, still gonna try hitting run. Failed to scan dependencies. Okay, blah blah blah. Failure. Yeah. All right. So this is an example of how things just broke down, and I cannot figure out how to solve this particular problem. So I'm just gonna try and ask it. So hopefully it should be able to try and resolve this message. Okay, it spotted some errors and therefore is having some problem. Okay, let's see what it does to fix this. So it's saying it's got to do something. Let's update the component and use this particular type. All right. This is looking familiar now. All right, so looks like this kind of an application has been built. It took a screenshot just to verify that it is working. All right, there we are. So this is a tab, this switches between whatever this view is, progress view, and the actual output. So that's functioning now. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna say something here and hopefully it should start recording. Can you access this voice notes application, blah, blah, blah. Fail to upload recording to the server. Server recordings, local recordings, I don't see it. All right. Can you access the voice notes? Do you see the recording interface? I see there. So this question bugged the hell out of me. I can't really understand what it's asking me. So I'm just gonna state what I want to say. Can see the interface, but nothing seems to be working. Let's see what it does with that. So apparently it's still causing some errors. So far I haven't even messed with the code or anything of the sort, and it's still causing errors. So something it did doesn't seem to work. Okay, it seems to have fixed it. Let's see. Is this now working? I think there's supposed to be a waveform here, but it's not showing up. Let's see. Let's stop. Excellent. So some recording has been saved successfully, and I think it's over there on the server. Excellent. Oh, fantastic. So it's playing it and it's been moved to the server and everything. All right. This is quite amazing. And I'm gonna tell Replit that this waveform thing is not working, and I also want to be able to rename these recordings, so I'm gonna ask it to do that as well. So I'm not sure what this processing thing is. Let's figure that out. All right, so let's put in this information. 3 changes. I'm just gonna describe it completely in English, just what I see, and it should try and resolve that. So what I've said here is that the waveform is not showing when the audio is being recorded, and that the editability of the file has to be allowed, and then the processing icon on the right, I wanted to make it a manual thing so that it can be clicked in order to begin the transcription process. Okay, so let's see how it handles this. As usual, it'll go back and start thinking and review the message and come back with some changes. I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to say please and thank you to AI as well. I'm not sure why I'm doing that, but in this particular instance, I actually didn't, and I'm kind of surprising myself here. But is it something that you do as well? All right, seems like it's gonna go attack each of these problems one at a time. The color of the voice notes, that section seems to have changed, so let's hope that it functions this time. All right, ready for testing. This is a test and I still don't see the waveform. Okay, now let's see if the file editing works. Excellent. So this stuff is working and it's ready, and the transcription bit is here. Okay, so things seem to be working. Now you can see that this has these tabs are just free floating and don't actually enclose the recordings within. And if I'm right, I won't be able to control the position of the audio either. Yeah, so moving this doesn't make any changes. So I've tried fixing this many times, but it just doesn't work. In my previous runs, it just doesn't work. So I'm just gonna have to adapt to the situation and ask it to just remove that. Remove the playhead. Okay, so I've said there are two changes required. One is to remove the playhead and keep only the play pause button, and to enclose the recordings within the tabs area. Let's see what it does. Now there are a number of ways I could have referred to this, the tabs area and such. I've done my best in just explaining, just using English to explain this. However, if there was a way to actually point at things over here, it would make life a lot easier. But it seems like it's understood what I'm trying to do, and it's going to start simplifying the interface. Okay, seems to have understood the tab area thing. Let's see what happens. Excellent. So it's got it. It's removed the playhead completely, and it's kept this. Let's see. Okay, everything else seems to be good. It's even got a volume button, which is all very nice. I don't know if you noticed this earlier, but it's got this area for the transcription bit to work as well. All right, does this work now? No. Okay. All right, so this is how far we've come, and I just want to give you my thoughts based on what we see here. Now, just for fun's sake, I'm gonna ask it to do something that I know it cannot do. I'm gonna click on restore checkpoint, and I'm going to show you some of the complications that arise from that. All right, back to sharing my screen. All right, so I asked it to remove the playhead. Now I'm going to ask it to bring it back, and I'm going to try and fix that problem. So I'm going to roll back to the place where the audio player was showing the media head. Okay, I'm just going to hit this. Theoretically, that is supposed to bring the entire application back to that state where it was working. Okay, let's see whether it's done that. Now it's saying that I've finished reverting. What should I do differently this time? Okay, let's figure this out. I clicked on that button to make it start working. I'm going to go back into the server recordings, and you can see that's not the case. All right. Maybe that's not the right place to roll back to, and I'm gonna try and roll back over here. Okay, it's finished reverting. Now I'm not sure if that was the right place to revert to or not, but I don't have the option of going back to a later point after having chosen a certain checkpoint. That is a bit of an issue, but here we are. Let's see if this is the version where the playhead is there. Okay, so you can see that there is this error that's occurring. I'm just gonna copy this, and I'm gonna ask you to fix that error. Right. All right. So I said that the playhead is not coordinated with the audio timeline, and I've also said that there's a particular error that needs to be fixed. So let's see if it can actually fix this error. This is one of the places that it actually had a lot of trouble, dealing with the code. So it started fixing it by changing the audio controls and such the last time around. So let's see if I have better luck this time. Okay. So let's come back here. So this is just going right through to. So it tried one fix, and you can see that it's not working. So I'm just going to ask you to go back and try and fix that again. It's saying, giving me the same assurance as before that it's going to try and fix it. Sure, anything is happening yet. So let's see. So the interface does get stuck like this one sometimes. So let's hope that's not happened again. Just going to switch to some other parts and come right back. Okay, that's not working. So it seemed like I needed to prompt it and make it run again. Let's see. Okay, it looks like it's trying to fix the audio player again. So it's saying that it's actually fixed it. Let's see. Yeah, as you can see, it's just skipping to the end. Let's see if this is an actual problem because I'm trying to play an old recording or not. This is a new recording, and hopefully this will have there will be some luck in actually recording the right stuff and the playhead coordinating with the right point in the audio timeline. So clicking that should make it push it to the server. Did it do that? Yes. Yep. So as you can see that even now it's not working at all. So this is an example of what I wanted to show you, that sometimes it tries to fix certain features, but it just doesn't seem to work. Before we get into reviews, I'm going to show you this one additional feature. Cost for building this application to this extent cost $1.75, right? So it's helpful. I think this is a very nice feature. It helps you know how much you've spent and whether it's worth retrying all these things over and over again, right? So they have some mechanism for charging by the number of checkpoints that are generated, and this is showing you the latest updated cost of this application. This was a very informative experience for me. When I tried using Replit with the free credits, it couldn't actually finish an application. And I thought it's because it required that much more compute in order to complete the application, building each of the parts. But that's actually not true, and I'll tell you why later. But if you watch the older videos of mine, you'll see that I've actually tried Windsurf, I've tried GitHub Copilot edits, and I've also tried Bolt, the do-it-yourself version of Bolt, as well as Bolt.new, the online tool. And I think I'll continue using a bunch of tools for a while now, because none of them have actually hit the spot, except for one, and I'll come to that. But coming back to the lessons learned, the first thing with using any of these AI tools is that I think you need to attempt to build these things multiple times. Not only so that the tool gets what you said right, but also for you to understand how to use the tool the best. So for you to get a hang of this, you might have to actually try building your application multiple times. Then the second lesson I've learned is that you always want to start small and then increase, add on new features and such. So you want to create the core of the application first, define that first, and then get into making some changes to this feature, adding another feature, and changing the styling and all those things. So you want to get the core functionality right. And there's something about building one step at a time rather than giving it this complete script with all the various details included in it. For some reason, the AI tools don't seem to understand that very well if you give it a very large thing. This is contrary to what you want to do with image generation, because more details you provide while creating images, the better your output is actually going to be. But that's not the case here. You want to take it one step at a time. Specifically with Replit, the third thing that I want to highlight is that the editing of the UI is extremely hard. This is because there isn't a pointer kind of mechanism that's available within Replit for you to be able to say, I want this element to be edited. You're always referencing it by using some language, saying the media playhead or the file name or some other element by how you use it in English. If we were actually able to point at something and actually reference that in our prompting, that would actually make the entire job very easy. Then the ability to go back to a different checkpoint doesn't really work very well. And I showed you as an example that when I went back, I tried going back 2 checkpoints. There isn't a way to go back to a future checkpoint in case you made a mistake. So you can't explore. If you choose a certain checkpoint, you better be absolutely certain that this is the checkpoint that you wanted to go to. I couldn't demonstrate it in this particular example that I showed you in the video, but in other exercises of mine, even the switching to a certain checkpoint didn't really work very well. Sometimes it seems to kind of try to do the code all over again rather than go back to a previous version of the code, if that makes sense. So the checkpoint mechanism just doesn't work as well as it should. So you can't rely on that in order to develop your code. The last thing that I want to talk about is that I wasn't able to successfully bring anything to life, at least not at the fidelity that I would really like to release any application in. I don't see this tool being used at the production levels at all. Maybe I'm doing something wrong and I'm hoping somebody from Replit can actually tell me what it is that I'm doing wrong. But the fact is that I shouldn't have to learn all these things or techniques in order to get this right. And that's the whole point, right? So I think there's a bit of a challenge over here. So let's talk about the bottom line. So firstly, I don't think the tool is there yet. I think they began by talking to developers first and trying to build a productivity tool for them, but then changed their target audience at some point along the way and started talking to non-developers. But the entire interface is still in transition, and you can see some parts where they're relying on talking about the code and such. So I don't think they're fully targeting the non-developer user base at the moment. The UX is absolutely not great at all. There were a lot of times where I was trying to figure out what is this, and even to get the preview bar, the preview window to show up, it's got that purple bar, and it's not very obvious that that's what you got to click in order to make the thing slide up and show you the preview. It absolutely, it's got a lot of bugs in terms of UX, and I think they've just taken steps one at a time and not really thought about how to completely target the right audience altogether. So you can see a lot of stuff is still in transition. One pet peeve of mine is the UX agent versus the other UX chat tool that they have. Both of them don't seem to communicate together. So any chat that you would have with one of them, the other one is actually not privy to. And your charges are different as well, the way the pricing mechanism is set up. So these things are all very confusing. At a lot of points, I felt like if I was just shown the code, I could actually get in there and edit, but that defeats the whole point, right? So what is it actually useful for? I think if you have a certain idea in mind for your application and you are trying to create it over here, I think that's not an objective that you will achieve. I think it's very useful for exploring ideas. So if you want to test out a feature, you want to see how this particular aspect behaves and such, this is what Replit can really do very well. So you can get that prototype built very, very quickly. But I don't think this is ready for high polish, production ready environments at the moment. Not the way it currently is. Secondly, I don't think I would build anything large or serious on this because I'm almost never sure of the security or the the functionality. I'm not absolutely certain that it's going to work very well. I think it can be used to develop websites very easily, blogs and all those things, and I don't see it being used for anything more serious than. The positive aspect is that you've got this sandbox that is created, the testing environment, and you can prompt on the side and you can actually get a live application working on the right. To do the same thing, if you were to try to do this on your local computer, it's quite a hard task. You will need virtual environments, you'll need to install packages, and you need to use the terminal and so on. There's just a lot of headaches that you would need to do as a developer, and there's just too much background information that you need in order to get all this set up just to test out a few things. So the overhead is really high, which Replit does very well by creating these sandboxes in which things can function. Even adding the database aspect is a nice touch. But I tried downloading the application code that is generated and tried recreating the environment locally and tried to make it function, and I failed miserably. I'm not the best developer out there for sure, but even with my knowledge, I wasn't able to actually get it to function. I even went back and chatted with Replit, the chat agent, and I asked it how to go about setting up this environment. But it was like as if I was talking to some agent that was completely unfamiliar with what I was trying to achieve, like a complete third party. And that kind of just breaks the entire experience completely. But the fact that they have a one button deployment is also very nice. So if I was actually successfully able to create a website or something like that, I could hit this button and they'll create the hosting environment for it, and I just need to point the domain. So those kind of things would have actually panned out really nice. I think they have hosting for static websites for free. So if this is something that you're looking at doing at all, you should consider using Replit for that. The one big disadvantage that I ran into is that it does not work with local software. So this application that I was building, I wanted it to work with Olama, which is running locally on my computer, and do some of the querying from there. And I didn't want it to work only with OpenAI servers or Claude or whatever. So that was just not possible. I couldn't figure out how to pipe any of the information to make it work with my local computer. So if you're trying to do any of these kind of things, it's just not possible to do with Replit at the moment. The bonus at the end of this episode is the fact that I ran into lovable.dev, and it is actually one of the better tools that I've come across out there that help you do this. So this is something that I would recommend, and you can see a demo of how I tried to do exactly the same application in this lovable.dev. And I want you to pay attention to the fact that I actually was able to do what I did just using my free credits and nothing more. So I'll just leave you with that. Watch the demo. I think it'll be fun, and you can try out Lovable for yourself and see if that's a better fit. But I'm definitely on the search for more of these tools, and I've come across a resource which shows me there are a ton more tools out there, and I'm going to test them out. If I run into something successful, then I'm going to post about it, and I hope to see you in that video. All right. Have a wonderful one. Take care.